I'm Vanessa, and today we're talking about 21 money lessons I wish I knew sooner, because honestly, these are the kinds of things that can save you years of stress and a whole lot of bad decisions. So let's get into it. Lesson 1. Looking rich and being rich are usually two very different things. A lot of people who seem flashy are actually just really good at spending money, not keeping it. The quiet ones? Yeah, they're often the ones stacking assets and living way below their means. There's a real difference between wanting financial freedom and just wanting to spend like you've already made it. And that mindset matters a lot. If your goal is security, you'll probably get there. If your goal is to constantly flex, that road gets expensive fast. So don't get fooled by the person in the luxury car or the designer outfit. They might be drowning in payments while trying to look impressive. Focus on frugality until your money is actually working for you. Lesson 2 is compounding. And no, it's not sexy at first, which is probably why so many people ignore it. Social media makes wealth look like some overnight glow-up. But for most people, money grows slowly and then suddenly. That's the magic. Even someone like Warren Buffett built the bulk of his fortune later in life. He started investing when he was a kid, and the biggest chunk of his wealth came way down the line. That's what compounding does. It looks boring early, then it becomes absolutely ridiculous later. So if you're being patient and consistent, you're not behind. You're just letting the curve do its thing. Lesson 3. A big paycheck can trick your brain. I call it the lump sum splurge effect. When money shows up in a huge chunk, you start treating it like your new normal, even when it's not. Maybe you get a massive commission check, a bonus, or a tax refund, and suddenly your brain is like, oh wow, we're rich now. Not so fast. If you work in sales or any commission-based role, one giant month does not mean every month is about to look like that. You could have a killer January and then nothing much until summer. So whenever you get a windfall, break it down into what it really means on a monthly basis. That $50,000 check sounds huge, but spread out, it's a very different story. Spend it like a grown-up, not like you just won the lottery. Lesson 4. Just because you can afford it does not mean you should buy it. This one saves people from so much nonsense. A lot of purchases are affordable on paper, but they still mess with your cash flow, your goals, and your peace of mind. Ask yourself a simple question. Does this actually improve my life? Or am I just buying it because I can? Because those are not the same thing. In our culture, people love telling you to upgrade, stretch, and max out every limit you have. But living beneath your means gives you breathing room, and breathing room is underrated. It's a lot easier to build wealth when you're not constantly choking on payments. Lesson 5. Stop financing a lifestyle that is basically just a costume. If something requires you to keep working overtime just to maintain it, that's not a flex. That's a trap. The goal isn't to look like you have money. The goal is to actually have money. So before you buy the thing, think about the monthly cost, the maintenance, the stress, the energy it steals from you. A lot of people don't buy products, they buy obligations. And honestly, no thank you. Lesson 6. First class is usually not the move until you're really, really wealthy. If you fly often, the math gets ugly fast. A domestic first-class ticket might run you around $1,500 to $2,000, while economy can be much cheaper. That difference adds up brutally over a year. If you took a dozen flights, that extra spend could easily turn into 5 figures. Now, if you've got points, an upgrade, or a company paying for it, sure, enjoy the champagne, babe. But paying cash just to sit a little more comfortably for a few hours? I'm not convinced. Premium economy or an exit row usually gets you most of the comfort without letting money on fire. Lesson 7. Keep your credit utilization low. Ideally under 10%, and definitely under 30% if you can help it. Lenders look at how much of your available credit you're using. And if you're constantly maxing out cards, that sends the wrong signal. Even if you pay it off later, high utilization can still make you look risky. So if your limit is $11,000, don't act like that means you should roll around with an $11,000 balance. That's not power, that's stress. Use credit lightly, keep the reported balance small, and let your score breathe. Lesson 8, don't carry a credit card balance if you can avoid it. I'm serious. Pay it off regularly. I like to keep mine handled every few days, but you do not have to be that extra if that's not your style. The point is simple. Credit cards can be useful, but only if you're in control. If you're someone who knows you'll overspend, then honestly, skip the card altogether. That is a completely valid financial decision. Rewards are great, but they are not worth getting trapped in interest payments. Lesson 9. Have some exposure to Bitcoin if you want a little hedge against traditional currency risk. I'm not saying go wild and bet your whole life on it. Absolutely not. I'm saying get familiar with it. Understand how blockchain works, understand why people care about decentralized assets, and decide whether it fits your view of the future. You don't need to be married to it, but ignoring it completely might not be the smartest move either. Lesson 10. Know your number. This one is huge. So many people treat money like a scoreboard. Like the goal is just to keep climbing forever. But if you don't know what enough looks like for you, you'll always want more. And there's always someone richer. Always. That game has no finish line. For someone in the FIRE world, a common target is 25 times annual expenses. So if you spend $50,000 a year, you're looking at about $1.25 million. Once you hit your number, you can shift from chasing more to protecting what you have. And honestly, that feels a lot better. Lesson 11. Always take the employer match on your retirement account. If your job offers a 401k match, that is free money, like actual free money. Not a coupon, not a gimmick, free money. If you don't take it, you're basically walking past cash on the sidewalk because you were too busy scrolling. Contribute enough to get the match. Every time, no excuses. It's one of the easiest wins in personal finance. Lesson 12. Automate your savings. Please, humans are weird with money. If it sits in your checking account, your brain starts acting like it's available for fun. So set up automatic transfers into savings or investments the moment you get paid. That creates a little psychological wall between you and the money, which is exactly what you want. Out of sight, out of temptation. And yes, you can still spend what's left. That's the point. Lesson 13. Pay attention to fees when you invest. Low expense ratios matter a lot more than people think. If you're investing in index funds, ETFs, or mutual funds, you want those costs to be tiny. Actively managed funds can charge way more, and over time that drag can seriously eat into your returns. I'd rather keep more of my money working for me than hand it over to fees that don't need to exist. Simple as that. Lesson 14. Making money is a skill, and skills get stronger with practice. When you first start, it feels awkward. You don't know what you're doing, you don't know which opportunities are worth it, and everything feels kind of random. But the more you work at it, the easier it gets to spot ways to create value and get paid for it. It's just like learning a gym routine. At first, you're confused. Then, you get fluent. Same with income. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And over time, you start seeing opportunities you would have completely missed before. Lesson 15. Be around people who take money seriously. Not obsessively, not in a toxic way, but seriously. People who care about earning, saving, investing, and building a stable life can influence you in a really good way. If everyone around you is careless with money or constantly negative about it, that energy can rub off. I'm not saying your friends need to be portfolio managers. I'm saying positive money conversations matter. Your environment shapes your habits way more than people like to admit. Lesson 16. Diversification protects you from things you don't fully understand. If you're not watching the market every day and researching every company, spreading your money around is usually the safer move. Owning a broad mix of stocks means one disaster doesn't wreck everything. That's why diversified portfolios are so popular for regular investors. Now, if you're Warren Buffett and you know exactly what you might take bigger concentrated bets. But most people are not Warren Buffett, babe, and that's okay. Diversification is often just smart humility. Lesson 17. Leverage matters. Money tends to make more money when there's more of it to work with. If you invest $1,000 and get a 10% return, that's $100. If you invest $1 million at the same return, that's $100,000. Same percentage, very different result. That's why capital is so powerful. And that's also why some people get insanely wealthy from one big winning bet. The same thing that can multiply your gains can also magnify your losses. So yeah, leverage cuts both ways. But when used well, it's a big part of how wealth scales. Lesson 18. Get in the market early and stay there. Timing to market is basically a fantasy for most people. What actually matters is time in the market. The longer your money stays invested, the more chance it has to ride out the weird stuff and benefit from long-term growth. Over very long stretches, the stock market has historically done well, but not in a smooth line. There are ugly years, flat years, and why did I even do this years? So if you can stay consistent and patient, that gives you a much better shot than trying to be clever and jump in and out. Lesson 19. A good money decision for one person might be a terrible one for someone else. Personal finance is personal. That's the whole point. Your income, your goals, your family situation, your risk tolerance, your age, your location, all of that changes the answer. So whenever you hear advice, including mine, use your brain and ask, does this actually fit my life? Because copy-pasting someone else's strategy can go very wrong if the context is different. Lesson 20. Once you build wealth, the game changes. Now the goal is preservation. At that stage, you don't want to play reckless games with your money. There's this idea called risk of ruin, and it basically means the chance of losing everything. When you're already wealthy, that risk should be as close to zero as possible. You do not need to swing for the fences every time. Staying wealthy is usually much easier than getting wealthy in the first place, so protect the stack. Lesson 21. Talk about money more. Seriously, so many people act like finances are some forbidden topic, but that silence keeps people stuck and confused. Talk to your friends, your partner, your family, whoever is open to it. Discuss what you earn, what you save, how you invest, what's working, what isn't. You'll learn faster, normalize better habits, and probably feel a lot less alone in the process. And if you want a place to do that with other people who actually care, there are communities for that too. The point is, don't keep money in the dark. That's the list. If you took even a few of these seriously, your future self is going to be very happy with you. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.